So you're listening to 93.5 with another headbanger from Metallica. Can you believe that, folks? What will they do next? They've been here for years on top of years on top of years. I swear, I could headbang until my neck broke at this stage. I mean, James Hetfield and the rest of those guys, they just are true guitarists at heart.
Hey, what up, Gary? I'm going to handle things from here as we kind of get into the nature of Metallica. Lots of featured fun that we're going to have with this group. They've been here since like 1981. It's quite some time ago. No matter how many times I listen to them, they still feel like they're on like their 6th or 7th album. That's not the case. It's much past that. They've done plenty of shit, so we're going to cover some of that. And I don't mean in the rock band sort of way cover. So first off, let's talk about Cobalt's picks for his top 3 Metallica albums. He enjoyed Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, and Justice for All. So all of those, they work. I mean, I haven't listened to Ride the Lightning too much. I gave that to my uncle, and then he lost that album somehow. I listened to Injustice for All a little bit ago. It's good. And I also listened to Master of Puppets. Now, I've had some of these songs off Master of Puppets for a decent while, but I have not really listened to them just because of the length of the song. That's one of the main complaints I have about the old Metallica that Lucifer Scarlet and Cobalt seem to like, along with how many others. I mean, how many folks would say 80s Metallica knocks it out of the park compared to like 2000s, 2010s Metallica, and possibly even the 90s Metallica, which I would say early 90s is different from like 90s, 96, 99, that type stuff Metallica. But my only complaint about 80s Metallica is just the fact it's not so much the guitar playing, it's not so much the singing, it's not so much the topics, it's not so much like the headbanging parts, the guitar solos, but it happens to be the length of the songs. I really prefer like radio edits to the singles from the 80s of Metallica, because I feel like, I mean, how many folks continue to want to listen to like a 9.5 or 8.5 minute song? I feel like, 4.5 minutes, 5.5 minutes, that's about pushing it. That's enough to get the verses out there, do the guitar solo, do the hook, do the bridge, that sort of stuff, and have it be taken care of. But back in the 80s, it was just very unfiltered. They just didn't care. So they kind of the reason why I feel like one of my favorite Metallica albums is the 1991 Black Album is just because the songs did not get to that length, but they were outrageously good. I love Enter Sandman, love Sad But True, love The Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam, Holier Than Thou. All of those type songs just really nailed it on the head. They crafted a new sound with that project, but also stayed true to the folks who liked them in the 80s, and that was just kind of the thing. So, but Cobalt and Lucifer Scarlet, they were pretty similar in their top 3 projects. Like, Lucifer Scarlet said that his top 5 were basically in order. His favorite was Ride the Lightning, his second favorite was Master of Puppets, third favorite was Kill 'Em All, fourth favorite was Injustice for All, and fifth favorite was the 1991 Black Album. Now with Cobalt, his favorites were, and I don't know the order of these, but he said Injustice for All was his favorite, and then the other 2 in his top were Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. So it's pretty similar. I mean, most folks seem to be saying that like the 80s Metallica is where it's at. But I would just kind of have to say, I give somewhat of credit. I also own the album Load. I was obsessed with Metallica like 4.5 years ago. I was wondering, well, why did they take 5 years off after 1991? You gotta understand that the Black Album in America went like 20 times platinum. It's like in the top 5 or 6 best-selling albums of all time. I mean, Thriller is better, Back in Black by AC/DC is better, but there's not an abundance of albums that went like 18 or 19 or 20 times platinum. So Metallica really struck oil back in 1991 and 92. I can't imagine how many people thought that they could take them, fuck with them physically back in 1993, but they took several years off, and I think that they kind of shouldn't have taken that many years off, because I do feel like Load was kind of a disappointment. I listened to it, I was kind of under the impression, I thought that that was just going to be more of 1991 Metallica, but it wasn't. A lot of the songs were dilapidated and just overall tamer and less effective than compared to the ferocious stuff that they had in 1991. They took too many years off. Should have came out in 1994. I mean, mostly those guys were getting into like their mid-30s by that point, but it was just kind of, it seemed to me as to that stage that there really should have been something that should have come out. And another album that the three of us don't really talk about that much is the cover album. Lucifer Scarlet didn't really rank it, but I feel like that's a decent heading that needs to be talked about as a cover album that Metallica did. That came out in 1998, so they did that after the Reload project. Haven't listened to it, but I can at least kind of say that I want to. That's kind of the whole damn thing. I was kind of getting jumpy to get this video up and running, but that's kind of the thing there. So that's where it comes from, is talking about the Metallica cover album. It's another one. I'd probably say it's up there. It's probably in the better half of the stuff Metallica's done. But then Lucifer Scarlet said that he would put basically the newest album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, basically in the exact middle. And that just kind of happens to be the thing. I'm kind of like, I mean, they went back to some of their lengthier songs on that, but I did like songs like the first single off of Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I don't remember what it was called. It had like 5 or 6 singles. They really nailed it. I mean, it seemed like most rock fans just didn't care about the complaints. It probably was a return to form, but yeah, I still find myself listening to the Black Album more. But I would definitely say I think it's a return to form. So it's up there, but I was surprised. I mean, I finally listened to some of these Master of Puppets songs, and they are pretty damn good. But I'd have to say, the title track, Master of Puppets, I would prefer to just listen to the radio edit. I mean, unless I'm at a concert, that's where I felt like that title track came in handy. It's 8 minutes, it's an 8-minute song. To me, it basically deserved, I mean, you get to the point where the guitar solo happens, and then that's just like a complete headbanging little point. But I would not find myself listening to that whole song like in a car or in the backyard or something like that. I would want to get to the point, get to the next one, have the best moments, jam along to it with it, you know, sip something. But then once that's taken care of, I'm on to the next one. So I did like the song Battery, though. That's another one off of Master of Puppets I enjoyed. Battery was pretty good. It was shorter. It got the job done. But I think if you just want to feel it in like a concert setting and kind of have something to headbang to and go crazy in all the moments, kind of wait it out and go through the motions, wave your lighters, yeah, the 8, 9, and 7.5 minute songs probably work better, but I'm just more to the point with that sort of thing. But then, to also talk about the songs from Injustice for All, I really liked the song One. I mean, that was an outstanding one. It was kind of almost post-grunge before post-grunge had even happened. I mean, post-grunge wasn't really in the 80s, so I was kind of like, damn. Cobalt didn't mention this song, but I also liked Eye of the Beholder, which was a single. That sounded like early 90s Metallica, and then I also enjoyed Harvester of Sorrow. So that's the title track, Injustice for All, too long, but it was decent metal. So that's kind of the situation. So that's for what it was. So all that combined, that tells you what the three of us think of Metallica. I'm in agreement. I haven't listened to every single Metallica album like Lucifer Scarlet and possibly Cobalt, but I've listened to enough of them to say I agree that their earlier years were probably better, but don't overlook Hardwired to Self-Destruct.